Chapter 1. A new PC game was becoming very popular. The game was called World Simulator. Using it, you could create your own little world and watch it unfold before you, changing and affecting details when you like. You could even submit your world online and let people explore it. Kaya sat at her computer, playing it. It wasn't a school night, so the 14-year-old could spend as much time as she liked playing. Which was fortunate, because actually creating a world was actually extremely detailed. It asked all kinds of questions. Whether your world was stable or essentially collapsed on itself depended largely on how you answered these questions. Some were fairly basic. How many days would her world have in a year? How many seasons? The game had more than the real life for. What species were the people? For the furry and sci-fi crowds, Kaya supposed. What was your preferred starting population? Other questions were very specific and required some thought. What age did people live to? How long were children required to attend schools? What was the most commonly found hair and eye color among people? Kaya laughed out loud when she came across a question that actually asked what age children were toilet trained at. Kaya couldn't stop herself when she saw that the choices went as high as never. She set the age to 18. It was too hilarious to think that her 18-year-old jerk of a brother, if he lived in that world, would be wetting and soiling himself like a baby. Needing mommy and daddy's help to reach the potty like a big boy. The instruction book that was included with the game suggested that first-timers make a world very close to the real one to more easily understand the various functions of the game. But, it's just a game, one change isn't going to be a big problem. Kaya yawned wide. She looked at her clock and saw it was nearly 11:30 p.m. Wow, she thought, I was up late. She usually got tired and went to bed around 10:30 at the latest. Ah well, best hit the sack, then. She thought with another yawn. She saved her progress and staggered a bit over to her bed. Falling more than laying down on top of the covers. In the last few moments before sleep took over, she giggled at a sudden realization. If I lived in that world, I'd have to wear diapers, too. With that, she drifted off to sleep. Chapter 2. When Kaya woke up the next morning, the clock read about 9 a.m. She was a bit alarmed, pun intended, but calmed down quickly enough when she realized it was Saturday. No school for her to worry about. She sat up and felt something extremely odd. She pulled back her covers and looked at herself. She seemed the same. Same shoulder-length brown hair. Same pastel pink t-shirt and shorts. Same bare feet. Same diaper. Same cozy blanket on her bed. Wait, what? Same diaper? She stood up and pushed her shorts down a bit. Her eyes widened a bit in surprise when she saw it. Underneath her pink shorts was a diaper. Not only that, but it was almost entirely yellow in the front. She had wet herself in her sleep. She lowered her hand and touched it. It was a disposable, smooth with white, at one time, plastic in the front. It was fairly thick between her legs too. Clearly meant to last throughout the course of a full night. The diapers inside felt damp and clammy next to her skin. She had obviously put it to good use. But since when was she a bedwetter? Why in the world am I wearing this thing? She thought frantically as she looked around her room, suddenly wondering what else was different. For the most part, everything was exactly the same as it had been last night when she went to bed. The only real major difference she had noticed was a changing table by one of the walls next to her computer desk. She pulled her shorts up and walked, more waddled really, over to examine it. It was more than long enough to suit her body. The table's legs seemed to have an adjustable height, suggesting that the table had been around for a long time and lowered so that whoever changed the diapers could more easily do so for an older child. Like me. Kaya thought to herself. There was a drawer built into the change table which, upon inspection, was revealed to have a large supply of both cloth and disposable diapers and plastic panties to go with them. The panties seemed to range from plain white to cute little cartoon and flower designs, not too different from the big girl panties she had remembered wearing just last night. Unfortunately, before she could explore any further, her bedroom door opened to reveal her mother walking in. "Good morning, sweetie," she said as she walked over to her daughter. She didn't even seem to care that her daughter was very obviously diapered, wet, and bending over a gigantic changing table. Instead, she gave Kaya a good morning kiss on the forehead and laid the girl down on top of the changing table. Kaya, unsure of just what to do here, didn't resist as her mother pulled down her pink shorts to expose her soaked diaper. Kaya's mom removed and threw away the wet diaper, then proceeded to wipe her daughter clean using some unusually large baby wipes in a box on the corner of the table. For some odd reason, Kaya didn't feel as horribly embarrassed as she would have expected to be while lying half naked on a table while her mother wiped Kaya's lower body clean. "So, Kaya, what would you like to start out with today?" she asked. "Huh?" Kaya asked in confusion. "Would you like to start today with a disposable or a cloth diaper?" Disposable," she answered with a slight blush. "Oh, yes." Kaya's mother answered with a smile, "You usually do prefer those when you're out, don't you?" Kaya suddenly remembered. She had made plans to go to the mall with her friends Cindy and Jonathan. How would they react to her showing up in a diaper? "Okay, now." Kaya's mother continued, "Do you want a thick diaper or a thin one?" Wow, Kaya thought, who knew there was so much to putting on a diaper? "Thin," Kaya answered. She didn't want her diapers obvious to anybody. "Are you sure?" her mother asked. "I'd think thick would be better. You won't have to worry about getting changed as often." "No, thin are fine," Kaya insisted. "Well, all right." Kaya's mom pulled a fairly thin disposable diaper out of one of the drawers in the table's lower section and unfolded it. She had Kaya lift her bottom up as she slid the diaper under. As Kaya sat up to get off the table, her mother told her she'd be downstairs making breakfast. "It should be all done by the time you're dressed." Kaya thought this a little odd. She had assumed that, since her mother had changed her, she was also going to dress her. Instead, she had left, leaving Kaya in her pastel pink t-shirt and new diaper. When Kaya got off the table, she noticed a big difference in how this diaper felt compared to the one her mother had just removed. The biggest difference to Kaya is that it allowed easier movement. Her walk was more of a walk and less of a waddle as she went to her dresser to pick out clothes. Out of curiosity, she started with her underwear drawer and found only socks and training bras inside. Not a pair of panties to be found. The other drawers contained her other clothes. Most of her wardrobe was just as it was last night. If there was any significant difference, it was the presence of extra space in the backs of most of her pants, as well as what looked like snap buttons along the inner legs of most of them. She chose a pair of black jeans to wear. They had the backside space to hide her diaper, and the snap crotch was hard to see. She picked a random t-shirt to replace her nightshirt. She stepped out of her bedroom, heading to the bathroom to do her hair, when she saw something quite surprising. Her older brother and father were walking out of the bathroom. Her brother, Luke, seemed angry about something. Though, to Kaya's eyes, that was nothing new. He always had a stick up his backside over something. He was buttoning up his pants, under which there appeared to be a pair of plastic panties. With a grunt in her direction, he trudged down the stairs towards the kitchen for breakfast. Daddy, why's he so upset?" Kaya asked. "Oh, it's nothing serious," her father explained. "Today was his first day of toilet training. I told him not to expect results right away. But he's just a bit peeved. Nothing at all happened even though he sat on the pot for almost 5 minutes. So, he's upset because he didn't use the potty?" she asked, failing to suppress a giggle. Her father laid a hand on her shoulder. "Now, listen, young lady. I don't want you making fun of him at all. Understood?" It's only 4 short years before you're the one sitting on that toilet for the first time. You sure won't want someone making fun of you just because you can't master it right away. As Kaya went into the bathroom, she contemplated what she had just witnessed. Her 18-year-old jerk of a brother was only just now being potty trained. She wasn't expected to use a toilet for another 4 years. This was sounding familiar. But she was having trouble at the moment figuring out exactly why. Kaya was further confused during breakfast. This whole diaper, potty training thing had almost had her thinking she and her brother would be treated like toddlers. But, just like when her mother had left her to dress herself, things went almost exactly as normal. If not for the fact that she and Luke were both wearing diapers, it would be just like every other Saturday morning. Homemade breakfast, discussions of the day's plans. Diapers didn't even come up until her mother mentioned to her children that they should both remember to make sure their diaper bags were fully packed. Kaya went up to her room after breakfast and did just that. She checked her bag, which was a small duffel-looking bag under her changing table. Inside were several extra diapers, as well as wipes, lotion, etc. Everything a girl on the go would need if she were to wet herself out in public. Kaya pretty much figured her mom would make sure she took this with her. She was just entering the living room to wait for her friends when a sudden sensation hit her. Without any warning at all, Kaya felt a warmth down below. She froze in place, unsure of what she was experiencing. When she recognized wetness as one of the sensations, she realized just what was happening. She was peeing. She was standing there, peeing in her pants, and was only just then becoming aware of it. She didn't move until she felt her bladder had stopped. She took a couple of steps, and noticed immediately the diaper was a bit thicker between her legs. Not surprising, since there was a bit more there than there had been barely 30 seconds ago. Before she could figure out what to do about this latest development, her father had come to her. "Need a change, hun?" "What?" she asked in surprise. How did he know? Kaya's father had seen his little girl stop in her tracks and get a far-off look in her eyes. A sure sign his daughter needed a dry diaper. "You must have been changed when your mom got you up," he said, "but she's always forgetting apple juice goes right through you." He laughed as he led Kaya to the center of the living room floor and laid her down on the carpet. With surprising dexterity, he undid the snaps on her pant legs and opened them up, exposing her newly wet diaper. For the second time in about an hour and a half, 14-year-old Kaya allowed one of her parents to change her diaper. She was more embarrassed with her father doing it than her mother. Probably because her mom was at least another girl. Her embarrassment was amplified when her father commented on how thin her diaper was. "You really shouldn't wear something like this when you're going out," he told her as he grabbed Kaya's diaper bag and pulled out a much thicker diaper. "Mom said it was okay," Kaya explained. "Well, when your mom changes you, she can do what she wants. I'm changing you right now and I say you're wearing a better diaper." With that he wiped and powdered Kaya, then put a new, thicker diaper on her. He proceeded next to close the snaps on her pant legs. "There," her dad said as he helped Kaya to her feet, "you shouldn't need another change for a while." Kaya was actually grateful for that. The extra padding around her but seemed a small price to pay to avoid going through having people see her naked any more than absolutely necessary. She found her walk had more of a waddle than it had with the thin diaper. But again, small price to pay. Kaya's friends were due any minute now, but Kaya wondered what to do to pass the time until then. Read a book, watch TV, play a game. Game. That's it. Kaya suddenly remembered. The familiar sensation about seeing her brother potty training. It was from her game. Everything about the day was exactly like it usually was. Except the diapers. Kaya's diapers and everything involved with them, changing tables, plastic panties, and such, were the only things different in her daily routine. Kaya didn't understand how, but that one minor change she made in her game world had affected the real world. Everyone under the age of 18 years was diapered. Those at age 18 were learning to use the toilet for the first time. She started a mad dash to her bedroom when the doorbell rang. Dang it. Not now. Her friends had just arrived. She couldn't do anything now. After all, you can't just say, "Sorry, guys, I can't go out with you today because I've got to go play a video game so we can all get out of diapers." With a sigh, she went and answered the door. What the heck? Kaya thought to herself, I'm a little curious about this world anyway. This is a good chance to check it out before I set things right. On the other side of the door, her two closest friends since elementary school, Cindy and Jonathan, waited. Kaya had spent most of her time up to now worrying how her friends would react to her being in diapers. She hadn't once given any thought to how they would look in them. To her surprise, they weren't all that different. Cindy stood at the door wearing a light blue blouse and matching skirt. Kaya caught a glimpse of what looked like a pair of matching plastic panties as well under the skirt. She was clearly well diapered in case of accident. In Jonathan's case, Kaya saw little difference. Perhaps a little extra padding around that area of his jeans. But outside of that and the leg snaps, the only indication he was diapered was a bit of a disposable peeking out from the waistband of his pants. Out at the curb, Kaya saw a car, inside of which Jonathan's mother waiting for them. You ready to go, Kaya? Cindy asked. Why, yeah. Sure. Kaya was about to step outside when she suddenly remembered, I gotta go get my bag. She ran to where her father had left the diaper bag after her diaper change. She grabbed it but was stopped by her mother before leaving. She gave Kaya several dollar bills. She said it was tip money. Though Kaya had no clue what that was supposed to mean. She just shrugged it off and headed outside with her friends. They loaded themselves into Jonathan's mom's car and headed to the mall for a day of shopping and whatever else came along.